end in mind. Living with the end in mind. I'll start off, I'll tell you a story, a very short story. There was a day I remember where I missed my train. And I didn't miss my train because I was late. I was actually really on time. I had woken up at my normal time of 5:30 in the morning. I took my shower, I got ready, I made my lunch for the day, and I left the house. And I was so proud of myself because normally when I leave the house, I'm leaving and I'm running to the station. I'm giving myself a very unintended cardio workout. But on this particular day, I got to the station with more than enough time to spare. So as you do when you get to somewhere where you have enough time, you probably pick up a newspaper and then you start reading the newspaper. I started reading the Metro. Took out my phone, probably read a few passages on the Bible app. I checked my Facebook. I didn't have Instagram at the time, so if I did, I probably would have checked that too. But I literally did everything, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was that I was looking at. But by the time I looked up, my train had closed the doors, and it was on its way out of the station. And I just stood there, I was stunned, and I didn't know what to say. My mouth was like, what just happened? Did I really, really just miss my train? I was just on the platform, just standing here, and my train has literally just left me and passed me by. I had nothing else to say, but I just felt sadness and the regret as my train left me. In the New Testament, Jesus often spoke to his disciples and his followers through parables. And parables were short stories which Jesus would create in order to teach a vital spiritual principle. And so the aim was to get people to focus in and to really zoom into the principle of the story. And as I've thought about what had just taken place and what had just happened on the platform that morning, I was reminded about the parable of the 10 virgins. And their story can be found in the book of Matthew, chapter 25, 1 to 13. Can we take a look? I'm going to read from the English Standard Version. Okay, it says, "Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a cry, 'Here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him.' Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out.' But the wise answered, saying, 'Since there will not be enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves.' And while they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins came also, saying, 'Lord, Lord, open to us.' But he answered, 'Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour.'" Now history, it helps us to understand the setting of an ancient Jewish wedding back in those days, which normally took place in 3 phases. The first phase of a Jewish wedding would be the betrothal. Okay? So the betrothal. The betrothal was basically a formal or a public engagement where the family of the groom to-be would come and state their interest in the young lady. And if the family of that young lady agreed, then a bride price would be paid. So then there would be money exchanged. And the money that was exchanged was, it was a type of covenant that was made. And it was to say, okay, we're sealing the deal, that we're giving our child to your child into marriage. And then from then on, the couple would enter into a betrothal period. And that typically lasted for about a year. The second phase in that wedding was a period of separation and of preparation. Separation and preparation. So although at the time the two were considered to be married at this point, the betrothed woman would remain in her father's house. So she wouldn't go immediately with the person that became her bride, but she would remain in her father's house, just learning, taking care of herself, learning how to be a wife, making wedding arrangements, whilst the groom himself, he would go away to prepare a place for his bride to be. And that place would normally be a small section or reception in the father's house. So although the bride knew that she would expect to receive her husband back roughly after a year, she didn't know the day and she didn't know the time that he would come. She just knew that he said that he would come, and that was it. And it's interesting to note that it was the father of the groom that would give the permission or the go-ahead for the groom to now go and collect his wife or bring back his bride. And so it was necessary for the bride and for her bridal party to always have oil lamps at the ready at all times, just in case the bridegroom came at night, which was often the case. Now, the third and final step was the marriage feast. Can you say the marriage feast? Okay. So on arrival of the groom, a horn or a trumpet would be blown in the streets, and there would be, a signaling to say, it would be a signaling to say that the groom has returned or the groom has come to take home his bride. And it would be a time of feasting and rejoicing and dancing and singing, and all of the people that were with them, all the bridal party would hold their lamps, and they would do a procession down the streets, and they would take them to their marriage home where they would feast, and then finally they would be able to consummate their marriage. So it would be a time of great feasting. And anyone at that time that didn't have a lamp on them would be considered as gate crashers. So if you did not have your oil lamps at the ready with you, would be considered as a gate crasher, and you would not have been allowed to enter the banquet. So that's basically what the parable is symbolic of the wedding feast. So in the parable above, Jesus calls 5 of the virgins wise and 5 foolish. Why do we think that is? After all, they're all virgins, right? So they're 10 virgins, so they're all virgins. They all lived in purity. They all lived holiness lives, and all of them had made preparations. All of them were expecting to have the groom returning. All of them believed that the bridegroom would return, otherwise they wouldn't have had their lamps with them, and they wouldn't have been waiting for so long. So what was the difference? What is it that really separated the two groups of people? What was it that really separated the two groups of people? I believe it was their level of preparedness. Let me say preparedness.
Preparedness.
Yeah, it was the level of preparedness. You know, when we join any organization in this country, I don't know about elsewhere, but normally when we join an organization as an employee, the common consensus is that we are all automatically enrolled in the company's pension scheme. So the pension scheme will take a certain percentage of your pay every month, coupled with the percentage that the company brings in every month, and that would ensure that you would have, your pension at the end of retirement, so that you'll be able to withdraw from your pension pot. And any good financial planner or any person with a good financial sense will tell us to prepare for retirement now. You know, it's not a matter of us waiting until like we're 65 years old and then start running around and trying to prepare for retirement. We prepare for retirement here and now. We prepare for retirement right now. We don't wait until the last minute and simply hope that everything is going to turn out right or everything's going to work out right. We prepare for it diligently. We prepare for it in the now, having an end in mind, knowing that at the end of it, I'm going to receive a reward. When it's coming out of our pay packet, it doesn't look very nice, but at the end, we know that we're going to receive our pension. We know that we're going to receive a reward. So you see, all of us, in one way or another, are on this platform that I was on. We're waiting for our train, if we want to put it like that. Some of us, like myself, we get to the station early. Some of us arrive on time, and others arrive with seconds to spare. Or in other words, we all come to faith at different points in our life. We all come to the realization of who Jesus is at different points in our lives. Some of us will have been believers from when we were really young, others in our teenage years, others in their 40s, in their 50s, and some will come to faith with seconds to spare before they actually take their final breath. And for me, the issue isn't, it's not a matter of when we come to faith, it's not a matter of the time that we come to faith. The problem lies with what we do in the interim. What are we doing as we're waiting? Are we still seeking God? Are we still praying? Are we still reading the Bible? And when I say read the Bible, I don't just mean reading the letters of the Bible, but are we really seeking to understand and the spirit behind the letters? Do we commit ourselves to learning? Are we still serving God? Are we still giving ourselves completely to Christ? Are we still looking to learn? Are we still serving? Do we still speak about Christ? Are we still building the kingdom of God? Are we still doing these things? Sometimes the truth is that as days and months and weeks and maybe even generations go by, we tend to become distracted. And we tend to be distracted by the things of life. We tend to be distracted by the issues that are happening around us, and that zeal and the excitement and the readiness and the anticipation that we had at the beginning, in one way or another, it starts to wane and it starts to fade out. And it starts to diminish because of life's challenges and life's blows, and that's the reality of it all. Because of some of the rejections that we faced, or because of our lack of self-esteem, or our lack of self-worth, or lack of provision, family issues, mental health issues, and all of that stuff, we tend to kind of sit back and say, actually, I'm not going to get too close anymore. I'm gonna step back in my service just a little bit. I'm gonna, just be away just a little bit. Let's not be under any illusion. We all know that being a Christian doesn't exempt us from the issues of life, and we're all a testament to that. But having struggles shouldn't push us away from God. It should draw us actually closer. It shouldn't hinder us from plugging into God or drawing into Him. It should move us further into His presence, because He is a God that knows how to comfort on every side. Jesus says in the Gospel of John 16:33, He says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have perfect peace. So for me, that tells me that our joy and our contentment, our happiness was always meant to be found in Jesus. We were never meant to find contentment and happiness in this world, because in this world He says that we are going to have troubles. It doesn't mean that we can't be happy, but our total fulfillment, as people, there's always something that we want more. There's always something that we're looking forward to. And I believe that God has allowed that to be in our hearts so that we can always keep our minds on Him. For us to know that actually there's nothing in this world. This world is just something that is passive. This world is something that is temporary. My joy needs to come from knowing Christ. My joy needs to be found in knowing Him. So it says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have perfect peace. In the world you will have tribulation and distress and suffering, but be courageous, be confident, be undaunted, be filled with joy, for I have overcome the world. For some of us, our zeal and our passion wanes because we have become so familiar with the Word of God, or the way of doing things, or the way of doing church. And we get to a point where it no longer affects the core of who we are. We know how to speak the lingo, but our character sometimes is very far from the words that come from our mouths. So we no longer actually seek God in the way that we need to. We no longer seek to hear from God. We no longer seek to listen to. Sorry. Is that better? Can you hear me? Yeah. So we no longer seek to hear from God. We no longer seek to hear what it is that He is saying to us, because we've just become too familiar with the Word. Or we say, oh, do you know what? I've read those Bible passages millions of times. It doesn't really, doesn't really change who we are. And we just become so used to hearing the words that we never really seek for a fresh revelation, or we never really seek for a fresh anointing. And I believe that this is the position that the 5 foolish virgins found themselves in. They found themselves in a place of complacency. They found themselves they felt they were in a safe place. So we're going to look at the two groups of women. So the first one, who are the foolish? Or who do the foolish represent? Okay, for me this group of women represent self-reliant Christians, or they represent passive Christians, or the I know it all Christians, or the lukewarm Christians, or the 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of Christians, or the ones that are just riding the fence. Verse 3 says, for when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them. They took no oil with them. So the foolish ones didn't take any oil. So they took nothing at all. Yeah, they may have had their lamps, but they didn't take the one essential thing that would keep their lamps burning. They didn't take the essential item that would keep that fire within them burning. Instead, they relied on themselves. They relied on the little that they had. And I guess for them, it must have looked like it was a lot. It must have looked, if we bring it back to our terms as followers or as believers, it must have looked like, well, I've been serving for years. I've been doing everything for years. You know, I've got more than enough to keep me going. I've known Christ since I was 5 years old, or I was baptized as a child, or whatever it is. We say all of these things in our minds, believing that it's enough to get us to the very end. So they assume that they must have been okay. Yeah, well, I'm going to be okay. I have all that I need, or I've been doing everything that I needed to be doing anyway, so I'm going to be okay. And how many of us find ourselves in that very same position, whether or not we would actually like to admit it? How many of us are in that position? We rely on our good deeds, or we rely on our previous accolades. We rely on praise that we made maybe months ago, maybe even years ago, or our past skill of reading the Bible, or we rely on the Bible knowledge that we've just stored up, and we're able to regurgitate it. But we're able to regurgitate because we've just been cramming it into our minds, but there's not the same spirit or the same fire that comes out with that word. There's not the same zeal, the same passion that follows with those words that come out of our mouths. How many of us are relying on our past relationship with God? How many of us rely on the believer that we used to be, or on the service that we used to bring to God in the past? And although we may not be practicing these things, or at the very least, maybe some of us just practice these things 25% of the time, we assume that what we did in the past is enough to get us up until the end. So does that mean that I'm saying that that God forgets our sacrifices, or that God forgets our love for Him or our service for Him? No. That doesn't mean, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that God forgets everything that we've done. He doesn't. But what I am saying is that we cannot depend on the food that we ate yesterday to carry us through until the end. We have to feed ourselves on a daily basis. When we stop seeking the Holy Spirit, when we stop seeking the Holy Spirit, we become stale, we become drained by life, because there is no top up. There's no top up in our lives. There's nothing to keep us new. There's nothing to keep us fresh. And it may not be apparent in the beginning, but as time goes on, our oil tends to run low and to run dry. A while back, so maybe a couple of months back, we had to get our car serviced. So we took our car to the garage because my husband was noticing like a really strange rattling sound. Every time we would set off, the car would kind of make a really strange rattling noise. So we had our car checked out, and we were told that our oil was very low. So they changed the oil and they ensured that we were topped up. So they changed it, they topped us up and made sure that we were good to go. And surprisingly, immediately the oil was put into the car, that noise completely stopped. So it was, obviously our oil level was the issue. So the man at the garage, he instructed us to always make sure that our oil was topped up in order to prevent future issues or future problems. And we noted we were very happy and drove away, and we were very happy. A couple of weeks ago, the rattling came back. So we had the same lawyer said, sure enough, it was our oil level. It was low, like really, really, really low. Our oil was really low. So we had been so busy running around and doing all of these other things that we completely ignored the advice of the man in the garage, and we allowed our oil to run low. Like we were literally virtually running on empty. And it's interesting because when the oil was being used up, we didn't immediately see any effect of the usage of that oil. We didn't immediately feel it in the car. The car didn't seem to be suffering anything. You know, it was just that noise that was a bit annoying for us to hear, but we didn't immediately feel the effect. But as time went on, it became clearer and clearer that we had a problem and we needed to top up. Again, when the oil was poured in, the noise stopped immediately. And it's the same with us. It's the same with us. We can go on for weeks, months, years and not realize that our oil is going low. You know, some of the things that we used to find really disgusting now, you know, we start to accept it a little bit here, a little bit there. You know, maybe you used to watch films and if it had a swear word on it, you just take it off completely because that swear word would just irritate you. But now maybe like, everyone swears. Or you know, you just kind of you pretend like you didn't hear it, and we continue watching these things. We're allowing our oil just to decrease a little bit. It's going down slowly. So unless we totally surrender the deadness of our spiritual standing with God and start seeking Him, we're going to end up empty. And this isn't the position that God wants us to be in. We don't want to find ourselves out of the marriage feast with God. Alright? Alright, so let's look at the second group of people, the wise virgins. So who are the wise? Who are the wise? Jesus couldn't make it any clearer. He said simply put, the wise are the ones that took flasks of oil with their lamps. They took flasks. It's not flask. They didn't take a flask of oil. They took flasks of oil. Flasks with an S. Meaning they took multiple supply. They took multiple supply. They carried them with them. So they were anticipating. They were actively seeking. They took the extra with them. They were expectantly waiting. In other words, they did everything that the 5 foolish virgins didn't do. They made sure that they had extra with them. And it's interesting to know that immediately after, in verse 5, Jesus says in our text, as the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. So there was a delay. There was a delay in the coming of the bridegroom. And sometimes with us now as Christians, maybe we've accepted Christ a long time ago, even our forefathers, or Abraham, all those people, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they were all expecting Jesus, right? And for us now, it looks like, hang on a minute, Jesus is saying he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back. But there's a delay. And sometimes we're just like, what's happening? There just seems to be a delay. So it appeared the bridegroom was delayed. All of them, none without exception, became drowsy and slept. So they all slept, they all became distracted. So the problem isn't in the falling asleep. It's not about them, being a bit discouraged, because it happens, and life happens to all of us. We all kind of have those thoughts, we all kind of go through those moments where we think, what's happening? There just seems to be a delay in all of this. So it happened to all of them, both the wise and the foolish. But the wise lived differently. They lived with an end in mind. They knew where they wanted to go. And because they knew where they wanted to go, they wanted to get into that wedding banquet. They refused to be the ones that were seen as gate crashers, as the ones that didn't have their lamps lit and ready for the procession. They made sure that they had their lamps. They lived differently. They lived with an end in mind. They wanted to enter the banquet no matter the cost. And surely, sometimes when you're waiting, and sometimes you hear things that seem similar. So let's say they would have maybe heard like a trumpet blowing, because the trumpet was the sound of the groom coming back. Maybe they heard like, a sound that looked like the trumpet, and then they would wake up, they would trim their lamps, and they would bring it out, false alarm. And then something else would happen that sounded similar to what was happening. Like now, we hear of rumors of wars and all of these things, and we're like, okay, Jesus is coming soon, and there's nothing. And that's how they must have been. They must have been that kind of, going, and then you wake up and you go, and then it's not really here. But it didn't put them off. It didn't put them off. For some of us, we would have been like, maybe this guy's not coming at the end of the day. Maybe I should just go back and just sleep completely, because this person is not coming. But despite they kind of all the false alarms and all of these things, they did it day in, day out for over a year, and they didn't get tired of doing it. They did it day in, day out, every day for a year. Sometimes they would have been disappointed, but because they knew what they wanted, they knew that they had to be in that place, they kept on going despite the disappointment. They did it faithfully. When we are faced, or when they were faced with the trauma, the disappointment, the failure, fear, weariness, confusion, and the same with us, when we're faced with these things, we should remain seeking God. They remain seeking to be renewed. They sought to be refreshed. They sought their help from above. They didn't rely on their own earthly wisdom, but they were completely dependent upon God. It should be the same with us. When we go through our delays in life, when we go through things in life, we need to be seeking God and not just come away with that disappointment and act like we're defeated. We're not defeated, because Jesus has already told us that He has overcome the world, and because He has overcome the world, we too can overcome the world. The matter is, are we still seeking God's strength? Are we still seeking His revival? Are we still seeking for His help? Are we still seeking for that outpouring of the Holy Spirit? Each time we seek Him, each time we look for Him, even in the midst of our disappointments, and we come to Him. And I think that's one of the best things about God, is that He loves our sincerity. If you're feeling down and you come to Him and you pretend, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't help you. But when you come to Him with everything that's inside of you, God, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling this, the sincerity is what He loves. And there is an outpouring of His Spirit on us. There's a refilling, there's a refreshing. He begins to refresh and revive our souls, and He begins to stir up in us that fire. And that's how we keep our light and that fire of the Holy Spirit burning inside of us. So every time we depend on God, there is an outpouring of the Holy Spirit. We are topped up. And this is what the flasks of oil represents. It represents the topping up. It represents the top up of the Spirit of God. And that's why the Bible encourages us to keep on being filled by the Holy Spirit. That's in Ephesians 5:18. You can read it in your own time. It says that we should keep being filled with the Holy Spirit. Alright, let's go back to our text. In verse 6, it says, "For at midnight there was a cry, 'Here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him.' Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps, and the foolish said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out.' But the wise answered, saying, 'Since there will not be enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves.'" Go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves. There are two things that I got from that. The first thing is that association will not get you what you need. So they were very close to these other five, but that didn't change anything. Sometimes we feel like maybe if I'm close to this person, then maybe they grace will come over me, or maybe I would receive a bit of the Holy Spirit that is within them. I don't know when they became Jesus, but we're not going to receive the Holy Spirit from the person that is standing next to us. Having associated with others who have extra oils will not benefit us when we stand before our King. Having someone or our pastor or our spouse or a friendship or someone that is there that has that strong relationship with God will not give us a free ticket into heaven because we know that person, because we rub shoulders with that person. said, because we were really close with that person. It doesn't grant us a free pass into eternity. We cannot depend upon anyone else but ourselves for our salvation. Oh, but I thought that we didn't have to work for our salvation. I thought it's not by works. It's not by works that we have our salvation. It's not by works. There's nothing that we can physically do enough to grant us into heaven. It is the grace of Jesus. It is his finished work upon the cross that affords us that grace. But at the same time, let's not take his grace, for a joke. Let's not live carelessly because we say that, oh, God is gracious, or God is so graceful, if we do this, it's okay. No. Let's live in a way that is pleasing. Let's live in a way that we know that we're going to have to answer to somebody that is much greater than ourselves. We still have a choice of accepting the work and living daily with the mindset that you and I were bought at a price. We're here for a heavenly calling. This isn't our home. We're not our own people, and that's why the Bible says that we need to work out our own salvation with fear and with trembling. We can't depend on anyone. So association will not get us what we need. It's our personal relationship with God that will make us heaven bound. Let's go on to verse 10 of our text. And while they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut. The door was shut. It tells me that when the trumpet sounds, when the time's up, when our time is done here on this earth, there's no going back to rectify one or two things. We can't just say, Jesus, just wait, let me just go back and let me just be the Christian that I was in the past, or let me just assume the faith that I should have had when I was down there. Can I just run back quickly? There's no going back, there's no redos, you can't rewind your life and get back to that point in your life where maybe you used to live right. You can't do that. Once the trumpet sounds, that is it, we're before our King, and it's him that we need to answer to. Secondly, those who are ready enter, and those who have not prepared for eternity are shut out. Those who are ready enter, and those who have not prepared for eternity are shut out. We have to get to a point in our faith, and we have to get to a point in our life where we realize that this world is not our home. Sometimes we become so distracted by life's issues, by problems, by wanting to get things and wanting to assume things or wanting to collect things, that we forget to focus on what is above. We forget to focus on what is ahead, and we make this mistake of thinking that this is it. This is all that there is. We make a mistake of thinking that this is life, and it's not. We have something that is much better than that. We have something that is much further than that. We have a heavenly home, a heavenly kingdom that we need to work towards. We're just here for a short time. We're here for a short time. There is a heavenly kingdom that awaits us, our true home. Eternity is on the other side of this life. Whether we believe it or not, I believe it. That's where we should all believe it, really, if we're here as believers. But eternity is on the other side, and if we fail to live each passing day with eternity in mind, we begin to accept ourselves from our heavenly home. The crux of it all is that without living with the end in mind, we end up shortchanging ourselves. We end up taking away what should have been ours. We end up cutting our inheritance. We end up cutting ourselves off from God. So we need to be watchful, because we don't know the day or the hour that Jesus is going to come back for his church. Can we be on our feet, please? The Bible says that when the Son of Man returns, will he still find faith on the earth? This isn't a message to scare anyone. It's not a message to, try and coerce anyone, but sometimes we need to talk about eternity, and we need to talk about what is ahead of us, because it's so easy to be distracted. It's easy to be distracted. It's life for us to, we go through life. But I want us just to have in our minds that this isn't our home. This isn't where we belong. This isn't where we belong, and we need to live knowing that, Jesus is looking for those who will stand up for you. He's looking for those who will really show themselves to be true believers, true Christians. I don't want any of us to get to the end and have regrets. Oh, I could have done this better. When I was down there on earth, I could have been a better believer. I could have brought people to Christ. Just live with the end in mind. Can we just close our eyes? Every eyes closed, every head bowed. If you're here this morning and you feel as though maybe you're in the category of a foolish virgin, and you say, yeah, I've been doing all of these things. I was a Christian from a very young age. I've been serving. I've been trying to live a life of purity. But I don't really practice anymore. I don't really do, the things that I should be doing. Or I've become distracted in one or two things. Can you just place your hand on your heart this morning? And can we just ask that God will just fill us anew and just revive us and just refresh us with His Spirit? The sufferings that we face here on this earth is nothing. It's nothing. I know it can seem a lot, and I'm not taking away, your right to feel. I'm not taking away your right to have, these emotions or these thoughts on your mind. No. But what I want to say to you this morning is that God is so much bigger than that issue. This issue is just a distraction, is a small blip. There's much more that is ahead. Father Lord, I thank you for every person that is coming before you and saying, God, I'm not the same as I was before. My faith, my zeal, my passion, my love for you has kind of dropped. And I don't want to find myself out of the wedding feast. I don't want to find myself outside when I should have been inside. I should have been more watchful. Father Lord, I pray for every person that has placed their hands on their hearts and that has recognized where it is that they have gone wrong and they want to rectify, God, because here and now is the time for us to rectify. Here and now is the time for us to begin to change. Here and now is the time for us to say, God, I want to live with eternity in mind. I want to live with the end in mind. Father, we just give these hearts unto you. We ask, Lord Jesus Christ, that you would provide your strength, that you would provide your healing, that you would provide your help, oh God. We pray, Father, that every heart will be yours and yours 100% in the name of Jesus. We pray, oh God, that you would help us to wait for you expectantly. Father, Lord, we pray, God, that you would help us to see that you will come back one day. You will come back one day for your church. And we want to be prepared. We want to be ready. Whether that's you coming back physically or when the trumpet sounds for us individually. Father, Lord, we want to be prepared to see you face to face. We don't want to be ashamed before you, oh God. So we just offer to you, oh God, our weaknesses. We offer to you, Lord Jesus Christ, the things that have been holding us back. And we just ask, Lord, that you would help us in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. And Father, Lord, for those who say, hey, God, I still have my passion, I still have my zeal. Lord, may our oil never run dry. May we always be topped up with the outpouring of your Holy Spirit. Refresh us, oh Lord, revive us in the name of Jesus. Keep us, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Amen.